Hey guys, in this video I wanted to go over how to make your drone footage look cinematic in 5 top tips. I've been shooting video with drones now for about 1.5 years and I feel like I've learned a lot in that time. I've made many mistakes, and one of the main ways you learn is by making these mistakes, learning from them and progressing further. So to save you that heartache, I'm going to give you 5 top tips to make your drone footage look better. The first tip is relating to your settings on the drone. So my drone at the moment is a DJI Mavic Air, and I will now take you through the settings and explain why I use each setting and what that does to make your footage look better. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the settings for the Mavic Air and why I use these settings. So first of all, I shoot in 4K at 25 frames a second. You can find that in the settings, press the camera icon and then video size. The reason why I shoot in 4K is because that gives me the pixels to crop and stabilize in post-production. The next thing that I adjust is white balance. So at the moment it's on auto, but if I choose to sunny or cloudy or incandescent or fluorescent, you'll see that the screen actually changes the color. So under fluorescent you'll see that it's blue, but under sunny you'll see that everything appears warmer. In this case I want to change it to cloudy because they are the conditions outside and the algorithm inside will adjust the color science accordingly. Next is the color profile itself. I shoot in Decine-alike, and the reason being is this gives us a flat color profile. You'll see that if I bring it back to normal, the area here is quite dark underneath the jug, but if I change it to Decine-alike, that makes it a flatter profile, so you've got more dynamic range to play with in post-production. Next we go into the actual camera settings for video. So I press here. At the moment it's in automatic. You can see that I've got 160 shutter, but I'm shooting in 25 frames a second. There's a rule that states that your shutter speed should be twice your frame rate in order to get the correct motion blur. So in the UK, we view our TVs at 25 frames a second. So to modify this, we go into manual and drag the shutter down to 50. So you can see now we're really overexposed in this area, and you can tell by the histogram everything's pushed to the far right. And there's 2 reasons behind this. One is it's a bright sunny day and a lot of light is entering the sensor, and 2, the ISO is at 800. And we want the ISO as low as possible. In this case we'll bring it back down to 100, and you can see that now the image is back to correctly exposed. So we've got the correct shutter speed for the correct amount of motion blur, and we've got the correct ISO to avoid grain. Okay, so point 2 is multiple axes of movement. Anyone can fly a drone forwards, backwards, up, down, left and right, it's easy. But to up your game, you need multiple axes of movement. This is where you could be flying backwards and up at the same time, or forwards and down at the same time. To get an idea of what I mean, here's 2 different clips that I've shot before, one showing a single axis of direction and the second shot showing multiple axes of direction. So in the first shot you've got a lovely central focus, and it's just a lateral single movement heading towards the point of focus. But in this shot you've got the point of focus staying in the bottom right hand corner, whilst multiple axes of movement are providing a reveal shot at the same time. Notice that the subject is staying in the same point during the duration of the shot. And to get inspiration on the different type of axis movements that you can do, have a watch of either my videos, other people's videos, or even things like Planet Earth from BBC or other documentaries like that, where drone use is quite common. From there you can see what people do and you can see what works best for you. But don't be afraid to give it a go, as it'll really up your game and it looks so much more professional than the standard single axis of movement. So the third point I want to speak about is knowing what shot to use when. So there are many different types of shots you can use. Here are a list of about 6 or 7 different ones that you can use and when's best to use them. The first one is the overhead. This is a really simple shot. Point the camera down, fly directly across your subject.
gives you a really effective shot and something that can only be achieved with drones. The second's the orbital. Works really well if you've got a fast moving background and foreground. In this case I'm orbiting around an object. The third one is literally tilting the camera down and going straight up, gives a real sense of depth. The next is the reveal. As you can see, this shot is pretty much completely green, and when we reveal you can see the lake, and by the end of the shot pretty much the shot is completely blue. A fantastic transition and a great reveal. Next is the lateral. This is where you have your subject in the centre of the frame and follow it all the way through the shot. In this case I'm following a barge along the canal. The next shot is the up high. You have 400 feet legally, so why not use it? Ultimately, it's shoot low. In this case it's flying low just over a low wall into the subject area.
The fourth point I want to speak about is preparation. As they say, preparation is the key for success. Having good preparation before you go out for a shoot is the difference between flying for 20 minutes and getting poor footage and flying for 20 minutes and getting excellent footage. There's four main points I use for preparation. The first one is weather. I want to know what the weather's going to be doing at the location and when is best to shoot. I use an app called Dark Sky. Dark Sky is either an app for iPhone or it's a web-based application, and it'll show you a prediction of the weather for the day, and I find it much better than BBC and Apple weather reports and other things like that. The second one to look out for is wind. Wind is the enemy of the drone. As I will link in the description, wind nearly cost me a drone one day because I was running low on battery. I flew out, wind caught the drone and I couldn't quite get it back. Luckily I managed to sort it out in the end, but it was pretty close. So there's another app that I use called Windy for iPhone. I'll show you a screenshot of that now. This is Windy. And you can see you can pick anywhere in the UK just by sliding this about, and if you drop the pin it'll tell you the wind speed and the wind direction. Windy is an absolutely fantastic app and I highly recommend it. Wind is the enemy of drone flying. It's the thing that determines how stable the shot's going to be, how much battery life you've got in the end, and it also interacts with the environment that you're trying to film too. So understanding what the wind's going to do on the day ultimately gives you a better shot. The third thing that I prep for is the sun. Knowing when sunrise is going to be, when sunset's going to be, and the sun position can determine if something looks fantastic or if something's just going to look average. Shooting in golden hour is a fantastic way to get really warm and vibrant colours. Shooting in the middle of the day will give you a cooler colour temperature, but will also give you the best light to work with. So think, what's the subject I'm trying to film, what's the sun path for the day, and what's going to work best for me. And finally, and one of the most important things, is the actual location. So you're thinking, right, okay, I want to shoot here today, but how do I get there? Where do I park? What's the best way to get there? If a road's closed, what am I going to do? If the car park's closed, where can I park? When I arrive, how do I find the location? All of this is things that you should prepare before. So the whole experience when you're there is the most efficient as possible, and you can focus on the filming and forget about any other worry. And the fifth and final piece of advice that I can offer you is practice, practice, practice. You cannot get enough practice. Like I say, I've been shooting for around 18 months now, and I've flown for countless hours, and I find that the more you do, the better you become. And even if you learn one new thing every time you go out, that practice will pay off on the long run. So guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope you definitely learned something. If you have, tell me what you've learned in the comment section below. And if you want me to explain anything further, then please let me know. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.